Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to all the brothers that's doing this work. The truth and sincerity. Shalom to all you brothers. Okay, this lesson is not going to be too long. It's going to be actually pretty quick. So, quick and to the point. Acts chapter 12, verse 4. Okay, it says, and when he had, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, now about the time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Now that right there is very important. Because during around the time, when is the time of unleavened bread come around? Let's go to it. It is when the Passover started. It says, Exodus chapter 12, verse 15, it says, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day even unto the seventh, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Jumping down to verse 17, it says, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for it is the selfsame day that I will brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generation by an ordinance forever. Verse 18 says, in the first month of the 14th day of the month at eve, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at eve. Because that was a whole week. Because this is around the time of the Passover. The night of the Passover is when, it starts. When that sun goes down and the Passover begins, the Feast of Unleavened Bread also begins. Okay, so let's read this again, verse 3. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Now let's pause real quick. It pleased the Jews to kill their own people, which brought the word to them, the word of Yahushua, the deliverance for them. That shows how wicked our people are, and our number one enemy is our people. But furthermore, let's go on. It says, then were the days of unleavened bread, because the Passover had just begun. It says, and when because that's the key to proving that Easter is talking about the Passover. That's the key. That really kills it, man. That really kills that Easter bullshit. Because that's when the Passover started, unleavened bread. And that's the only time of the year that we have to have unleavened bread for like a ceremony. And we have to eat it for 7 days straight with no leaven. That puts the key in it, man. This is verse 4. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to the 4 quadrants of soldiers. If I said that right, quadrants of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Quaterings. Now, you see how they snuck that in there? Let's go back to where I was at. Okay, here you have, you got the Paleo, you got the Assyrian, and you also have it in English. right here. It says he seized him, he put him in prison, and delivered him to the 4 squads of the 4 military men to guard him, so that it was intended to bring him after the Passover before the people. Now, if you go to the Lashwan Kodash, you will see that it's right here when it speaks about the Passover. This is where it says Passover. The first character is Ha, which means the, because it says the Passover. So Ha, the in Hebrew is Ha. So Ha Pasach, 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 Pasach. If I'm saying it, yeah. And it also is read here in the what's the Paleo. It was right there in the Syrian. It's right here in the Paleo. Ha Pasach, because that's talking about the Passover. You know, the feast, the 7 days of unleavened bread, and the Passover. So you Christians, doing all this around the time of Easter. But Easter is one of the Babylonian customs. It says Nimrod. It all began in Babylon. See, Easter is one of them. Let's see what this says. I'm not going to try to read all of this. I just want to get the point of it. It says, let's see. Let me just skim through these. I'm trying to get the points, the key points. It says eggs occupy a special status during Easter observances. They're symbols of rebirth and renewal. Life bursts forth from this otherwise plain and eminent object that gives no hint as to what it contains. In this regard, it a handy symbol for the resurrection of so-called Jesus Christ, but it is a symbol that has held this meaning long before Christianity adopted it, because that's something that Christianity adopted. There is a meme floating around Facebook that some people have railed about and are sharing as a truth of Easter. It proclaims Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Her symbols, like the egg and bunny, were and still are fertility and sex symbols. Or did you actually think eggs and bunnies had anything to do with the resurrection? After Constantine decided to Christianize the empire, Easter was changed to represent so-called Jesus. But at its roots, Easter, which is how you're pronounced Ishtar, is all about celebrating fertility and sex. Ishtar was the goddess of love and war and sex, as well as protection, faith, childbirth, marriage, and storms. There's some fertility in there, but as the let's see. That's really it. That's saying the same thing. let me read this third bullet. It says the word Easter does not appear to be derived from Ishtar, but from the German Estre, the goddess of the dawn, a bringer of light. English and German are in the minority of languages that use a form of the word Easter to mark the holiday. Elsewhere, the observance is framed in Latin Pesach. Oh, what is that? Pesach, which in turn is derived from the Hebrew Pesach, meaning or associated with Passover. Ishtar and Easter appear to be homophones. They may be pronounced similar but have different meanings. See how Esau put all of that in there, but then put one little bit of truth in there. This whole bullet right here. You know. So this is also tells you that it's talking about the Passover. I don't want to waste my time reading unnecessary stuff. But that's really it. I proved the point. The point has been proven. Killed Easter. It's bullshit. Because people finna get ready to celebrate that shit tomorrow. I believe tomorrow's Easter. They finna worship this fertility god, Ceramicis, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the mother of Nimrod. Semiramis Easter. There we go. The pagan origin of Easter. Now I'm gonna come back and read over this. But the point has been proven. Of the lesson. So let me get this precept. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 1. It says verse 1. It says, "Hear ye the word of Yahweh, which speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus said Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." So the Lord said, learn not the way of the heathen. Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain. That's what I wanted to get. The customs of the people are vain. Very vain. Because it's going to go into Christmas and how they do they bullshit of Christmas. But the customs of the people are vain. They don't have no meaning, man. Our people followed after the heathen. Don't do the same thing heathen nations was doing. Getting pretty tired. Well, that was really it. That was a deep scripture. Learn not the way of the heathen. And that's what our people have done and continue to do. They worshiping these false idols and these false gods. But this is what the Lord said about it. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 28. It says, "But where are thy gods that thou hast made thee? Let them arise, if they can save thee in the time of thy trouble. For according to the number of thy God cities are thy gods, O Judah." Because the Lord said, since you want to worship all these false gods, you got to remember He's a jealous God. Since you want to worship all these false gods, let them save you. And y'all finna go in church tomorrow, and they're in church in years. You finna go, and you don't even know why you're going. The Passover has already passed. The solemn assembly has already happened. And now you people trying to have some type of holy day. Ain't nothing holy about this. It's nothing but wickedness. It's a heathen. It's a heathenistic thing, man. Descending from Babylon. With Nimrod and Semiramis and Tammuz. And the Lord hates that. Hates to when you follow after the heathen. This is Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 14. It says, And he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. He brought me in the inner court of the Yahweh's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, before the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, which their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun towards the east. And he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I deal in fury. Mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. And if you go to the Zechariah 9, that's when he commanded his angels to slaughter, man. Let me read it real quick. What did I just say? I meant to say Ezekiel. Chapter 9, verse 1. It says, He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brassen altar. And the glory of the Most High of God of Israel was going up from the cherubim upon he was to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And he said unto them, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. It says, that Hebrew word right there for mark is talking about an exemption from judgment. There's 2 marks, a righteous mark and a wicked mark. Verse 5, And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. So the Lord command his angels to go through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the men's that sigh and cry, set a mark on their foreheads, for an exemption from judgment. And he sent his other angels to go through the midst of the city and kill those that don't have that mark, an exemption from judgment. Verse 6, it says, Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. So they, Salakia. So they gonna, that's gonna happen again. The Lord's gonna smite His people again because of these wickedness that they doing. They're doing the same thing they've been doing back then, worshiping other gods. Okay. Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So with that, I'm gonna say Shalom. Kwam Yashala. Uh, Let me read Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 30. Chapter 12, verse 30. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. After that, they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. So the Lord told us not. He told us about the heathens and their gods, and He told us to stay away. But look at our people; they so caught up in the midst of it.